Srimad Bhagavatam. And so maybe you can Om Namo Devaya. Om Namo Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nangayate Girim Yatripātamaham Vande Shri Guru Dīnatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam Granthras ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Nitai Gaur Sitanath Premanande Hari Hari Guru. Okay, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text 23. Dhyayati Bhagavadrupam Yad Aha Dhyana Gocharam Sutta Prasanna Vadanam Samasta Vyasta Chintaya. Translation. Thereafter, having heard with great eagerness and in all detail from her son Kapiladeva, the eternally smiling personality of Godhead Devahuti began to meditate constantly upon the Vishnu form of the Supreme Lord. I think we can go on to the next two verses also, Prabhu, and then deal with the fourth part. Text 24 to 25. Bhakti pravaha yogena vairagena valiyasa yuktanusthana jatena jnanena brahmahetuna Vishuddhena tadatmanam atmana vishvato mukham svanubhutya triptiro bhuta maya guna visheshanam. Translation. She did so with serious engagement in devotional service because she was strong in renunciation. She accepted only the necessities of the body. She became situated in knowledge due to realization of the absolute truth. Her heart became purified. She became fully absorbed in meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all misgivings due to the modes of material nature totally disappeared. And the mental strength that Mother Devahuti gained is what is being mentioned over here. Prabhu, the internet connection is unstable or something like that. I'm getting this message. Anything like that?
Yes, Mataji. Actually, we lost you for some few seconds. Then you came back.
Is it?
After reading the second translation, only it happened.
Is it? Prabhu, this 5G is creating a big problem, I guess, in market. because what do you say? The instruments which we are using for this 5G is not that much capacitated, or I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe
It's okay, Mataji. Now it's okay.
Okay. So here we are today dealing with the mental psyche of Mother Devahuti. That is, it is very difficult for a lady actually to suddenly be bereft of all the material entanglements or rather material attachments or the material responsibilities, and then completely transcend or completely surrender herself into the transcendence. But here, Mother Devahuti, after she heard, because her hearing was, as it is said in the translation of text 23, her hearing was with very great eagerness. This eagerness is of great importance in our devotional service. Because we all do devotional service, but how much of eagerness do we have? That is quite important in actual devotional services. So this that in because when eagerness comes, then the surrender automatically follows. But eagerness is what we lack. Like now, every day it becomes a character for us. Okay, we are doing Mangalarti, we are doing chanting. It just becomes a monotonous routine. Now that should not be there. It should be sukham. That we should do it with so much of love, care, affection. Every time a mother dates a child, she does not respond to the child in a manner that this is monotonous. She rather responds to the child in a manner that it is out of so much of love, so much of eagerness. It is, in fact, the child doesn't want any bathing or anything. It is a mother's eagerness to bathe the child. It is a mother's eagerness to feed the child. In the same way, our soul needs to be fed, with devotional service on and off. So that eagerness should be there within the soul that we are, within us. That eagerness should always be there. Now, how do we get this eagerness? This eagerness comes only by means of constant association with like-minded devotees. This is quite important. Like, see, suppose we can know the difference, when we go to the dhams, how eager we are. We are too spontaneous to get up for Mangalartis, to do other services, etc. But when we come to our own zones, and if we are like in the COVID times, we are just with the laptop, we all would have lost our eagerness to really do devotional service, because that punch which we get when Vaishnavas are there with us, that is not there. So this eagerness is something which we develop when we are in the association of the like-minded devotees. Then, every word that Bhagavatam purport, or the translation speaks, is of great importance. We cannot actually ignore these words. Now here, Prabhupada has written this in this translation, that with great eagerness and in all detail. That is quite important. Devotional service can be done in bits and pieces. Devotional service can be done in complete, in all its paraphernalia type. It can be done. Now, how we are planning to do it, that is quite. Now, that completely depends upon, like we have, in loopholes, we devotees, we say, we can do Dhoop Aarati also, we can do complete Aarati also. Now, Dhoop Aarati is something which we do when we have a lack of time because there is some other services, but that is just a loophole. That is not a means to an end. That is not the solution to the problem. So here, in complete detail, we should do devotional service. That is, when it is mentioned that we should offer to the Lord Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, then it should be like that. We should offer to the Lord in complete detail, and in a way that the Lord is completely satisfied with all our services, whatever we offer to Him. And here, the eternally smiling personality of Godhead. The Lord's smile itself, we know that Adaram Maduram, that Kirtan itself, that bhajan itself, of what? So every aspect of the Supreme Lord, every move of the Lord itself is Maduram Maduram. So the Lord is ever smiling. So that means to say, when we also reach in front of the Lord, or when we are standing in front of the Lord, it is said that we should not be standing with a grieved face. It should be that we are always smiling, and smiling faces always find a welcome. So we are welcoming the Lord into our hearts. My dear Lord, Mama Mana Mandire Raho Nishidin, come and please be seated in the core of my heart. So this is the way that one should actually keep welcoming the Lord, so that the Lord also feels enlightened to come and visit our heart, purify it, so that our consciousness is totally in a very good stature. And Devahuti, thus, in this mood, she began worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead as per the instructions that Kapila Deva, her son, had actually instructed her. Now, here there is one point which we should note, that instructions, no matter who gives, the authority of the instructions or the weightage of the instructions is what is quite important. We feel that only if the seniors give us instructions we need to follow. It's not that. In When we come into Krishna consciousness, each and every soul whom we come and meet with, we have something to learn from that particular soul. Maybe he is just a neophyte devotee, maybe he has been in Krishna consciousness just for 5 years, and I have been into Krishna consciousness maybe for 20 years. It doesn't make a difference. Still, we are all learners. That is why we are called as sadhakas. We are still not Sampurna. If we had been Sampurna, then we would not come up to in this, we need not come down to the material world itself and enjoy the pangs of birth and death and all that. So this itself shows that we are totally into Krishna consciousness, and that surrender is what makes us sadhakas. So for this, we should really understand that we are really practicing devotees, completely practicing devotees. Just a second, Prabhu. Rupashri, അത് അവിടെ കിച്ചന്റെ ചെയറിൽ ഭഗവാന്റെ ഡ്രസ്സ് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. So, sorry, devotees. So we are still sadhakas, and as sadhakas, our main service is to be inspired from each and every one of us, no matter how long we were or how small or how less we were. Now, this is one particular point, and Devahuti therefore accepted the instructions from Kapila Deva, and she followed it into our lives, into her life. Now, most of us, we would have seen that we would be counseling our parents, or we would be trying to bring them into Krishna consciousness, but they are like, okay, we are just small children in front of them, and they will not be ready to accept. Even when we see Prabhupada's own life history of how his wife itself was not ready to accept Krishna consciousness, because she had taken the husband for granted. Relationships are not to be taken for granted. Rather, let it be that over so many years I've been living with my mother or father, but still relationships are not to be taken for granted because they're temporary. They are not going to be with us permanently. And when we lose them, or when they are gone away from us, then we take it into our heart about how they were quite good to us, how they were quite helpful to us. So when the eyes is there, we do not value the sight. That should not be our situation. Whenever the eyes is there, let us fully enjoy the sight. Let us fully flavor the sight. Let us fully be thankful that we have this particular sight. That is quite important. So this is what I could learn a lesson from this particular translation of Prabhupada regarding Mother Devahuti. And now in the next text 24 to 25, here Prabhupada mentions in the translation that she did her devotional service with serious engagement. That is quite important. Seriously, we should be engaged in our devotional services. And she was very strong in renunciation, and she accepted only those things which is necessary for the body. Renouncing is a very great aspect in our devotional service. We all, when we come or when we have come into Krishna consciousness, we all have renounced and started following the 4 regulative principles, renounced seeing so many unwanted things or hearing unwanted things. Now, this renunciation is not so big great, because it can happen as and when we are chanting, we lose the taste for all the lower types of foods and we get into the higher taste. That is always there. That's why another form or another word for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness is higher taste. Because slowly we really gain the higher taste. But the point over here is that the necessities of the body should be accepted only as per the requirement. How much am I supposed to take in? As per my capacity of my stomach. or as per my capacity of my mind. That's it. That's enough. Because sometimes we remember, we have this Madhurya Kadambini, one book by Vishwanta Chakravarti Thakur. That book is quite heavy for me. I really can't grasp it. But there are devotees who can, take it very easily. But a person like me cannot accept it, or not accept, cannot take it. I really am not able to understand what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur really wants. So we have our capacities of the mind. Accept whatever we can do, and we should reject whatever we need not do. That particular aspect we should really bring about. That's why Krishna consciousness has its borders. We have so much of borderline. Even we know that the states are bordered, the countries are bordered. Why is it so? So that we know our limit. As being limited souls, we should know that where we should draw the line and accept the boundaries. If we feel, or if we think that why am I bothered, that means to say we are truly not ready to surrender ourselves to the Supreme Lord. We are not ready to accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. This is why we should never think that we are bounded or bordered all the time. We have our own limits because we are limited souls. We are Anu Atmas. We are not Vidhu Atmas. So we have our limits. We should accept the fact and surrender ourselves to the Supreme Lord. Once we surrender, then what happens, or once we accept the supremacy of the Lord removes all the boundaries, because then a relationship of love, of give and take comes up between the Atma and the Paramatma. When that sort of a relationship comes, then there is absolutely no boundaries, because love has no boundary at all. And just like, suppose if you love a person, you are ready to sacrifice anything for him, your health, your wealth, your whatever. So that means to say there is no boundaries for love. Same way when the gopis and Srimati Radharani, they all, when they were serving the Lord, let it be day, let it be night, let it be that the gopis are cooking for their husbands, they never had those boundaries. They hear the flute sound, that is it, they are out in the street just to serve or to meet the Supreme Lord. So where there is sacrifice, only there is love. Where there is, when there is so much of holding a back or wanting types, then there is no love here. And in devotional service, what we should really understand is that it is totally beyond the boundaries. Just like we have this particular example of a person who is traveling or riding the car and traveling, he is controlled by traffic lights. But the person who is going up in the helicopter or traveling by flight, he doesn't have any other boundaries of the traffic lights which is there down on the land. So this is the difference there. And when such renunciation happens, when the desires of the body or the tongue or the mind is totally curbed up, that time is what the true knowledge sets in. True knowledge for the soul totally sets in at that particular time. And this is what happened to Devavati, because she became realized about the absolute truth as per the instructions of what Kapila Dev had given to her. And when a soul realizes what is his position in regards to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then that particular heart becomes purified, and the heart is ever ready to receive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now just see, if the room is very untidy, is it possible that we can really live in that particular room? No, we will first tidy the room and then only we can live in. In the same way, if the heart is totally contaminated with so much of kama, krodha, all the 6 enemies of the mind, if it is totally punctured in the heart, then the Lord doesn't enter into the heart. So if we really honor that the Lord should be coming and be seated in a jewel or in a gem throne, for that the heart should be totally purified. And what is the purificatory process? The chanting of the holy name. When the chanting starts, slow and slow, the heart gets purified. All the dirt goes off. This is, now what sort of a dirt is this? This is that sort of a dirt which is not seen by the material eyes. This is that sort of a dirt which is seen only by the Lord. And the Lord can see that it is getting cleansed. The Lord can see, but the soul can feel the dirt away. And how can the soul feel that the dirt is gone from my heart? I can feel it so because my attachment towards the Lord, my attachments towards spiritual activities gets connected or gets it becomes interesting for me more and more. That is how. And we get attached to chanting, we get attached to the devotees around us. All these different aspects are there. And so, in the same way, her heart became totally purified and she started meditating upon the Supreme Personality of God. When she started meditating upon the Supreme Personality of God, whatever misgivings, Hridayantastu Abhadrani, whatever misgivings was there in the heart, or whatever doubts she had in the heart, it totally got eradicated. And then the soul connect, the soul connect happened between the soul and the Paramatma. So this is how actually slow and slow by and by. But in Kali Yuga, it's even more faster. In the previous yugas, where Devahuti, Mother Devahuti was, it was too slow because meditation is really a slow process. But the chanting of the holy name has so much of power. It is just like you just have to take somebody is chanting, you just have to take the ladle, pour it into your ears, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra has direct access to the heart. It goes to the heart, it purifies the heart from there, and then we totally get contaminated. Already, all the contaminations totally just go away. Now, this is just said, it has to be practiced. And for that practice, we need to have the guidance of a very strong devotee who is there always with us or who can give us direct counseling. Because we are not souls who just take the Bhagavatam for granted. We are not souls who believe the words of the Bhagavatam. This is a flaw in us, this is due to our condition. So, because of this reason, there need to be a physical guru who can literally be guiding us. Because at every junction of our life, we have doubts. Which road to take? Whether right or left, whether straight or back. All these junctions are always there. So therefore, that guidance is quite required. You can see of how Mother Devahuti was totally guided by Kapila Muni. And therefore, she accepted it. Now, that is a very good point, We may have, the Lord may give us counselors or Siksha Gurus or whoever, who is required in our life, or even Guru. But how much do we believe in them and how much are we ready to accept their instructions? This is quite important. We can also ignore their instructions. Oh, that Prabhu, he is already having a family who is well in Krishna consciousness. But look at me, my wife is not supporting me, so I cannot practice it in that way. It doesn't work like that. Just try surrendering to their instructions. Then the Lord will make a difference because the Lord says, what is that, Prabhu? I forgot. My devotees' words will never go in vain. What my devotees say, it will never go in vain. Because that devotee, as he is giving you instruction, he is also practicing.
Shipram Bhavati.
Sorry, Prabhu?
Shipram Bhavati.
Dharmatma. Yeah. Aunteya Pratijani. Yeah.
Namakta Prachati.
So the Lord is when suppose you are getting instructions from your guiding devotee, at the same time this guiding devotee is praying to the Lord that my Lord, I have given such instructions, but it is you who should actually make it happen. I don't know how it will work for this particular devotee. So as the prayer goes on, the Lord is bound to make truth out of the instruction which is given by his devotee. He said, now it is a Lord's job. So that is why the Pandavas, Arjuna, he will go and say, he will make big promises. Okay, by tomorrow, if I don't get Jayadratha, I will cut off my head or I will jump into the fire. All these dramatic dialogues he will say. Finally, it is a Lord who has to, poor thing, see that he doesn't jump into the fire. Rather, killing of Jayadratha should be made possible. For that, he will cover the sun, he will cover the moon, he will make the chariot go down, anything he will do. So, this is what the Lord does for his devotee. So the devotee, because the Lord knows what the devotee is telling is for the benefit of the soul, so that the soul surrenders to the Supreme Lord. So this is what the mercy of the Lord is. So we should see that how we can seriously engage in devotional service, and when we seriously engage in devotional service, we slowly get renounced from all the material entanglements. And when we slowly get renounced, knowledge sets in into our minds. We become more understanding, more knowledgeable, and more close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this particular thing happens, all the misgivings, all the abhadrani, all the insecurities in our heart also totally goes away. So, Prabhu, do we have time for the next one? The purport is a little bit big, as per what you say, Prabhu. Whatever you say.
Mataji, I think we can read Mataji 8 o'clock only, no? 8 2 only.
Okay. So,
Okay, Mataji.
text 26.
Yeah.
Text 26. Brahmani avastita matir bhagavati atma samshraye nivritta jiva patitva kshina kleshapta nirvriti. Translation. Her mind became completely engaged in the Supreme Lord, and she automatically realized the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman. As a Brahman realized soul, she was freed from the designations of the materialistic concept of life. Thus, all material pangs disappeared and she attained transcendental bliss. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Devotees can maybe read the purport or.
Shall I read, Mataji?
Please.
Yeah. The previous verse states that Devabhuti was already conversant with the absolute truth. It may be questioned why she was meditating. The explanation is what when one theoretically discusses the absolute truth, he becomes situated in the impersonal concept of absolute truth. Similarly, when one is seriously discuss the subject matter of the form, qualities, pastimes, entourage, and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes situated in the meditation on him. If one has complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord, then the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman is automatically realized. The absolute truth is realized by the knower according to the three different angles of vision, namely impersonal Brahman, localized supersoul, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, if one is situated in the knowledge of the Supreme Person, this implies that one is already situated in the concept of supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Brahma Buddha Prasannatma. This means that unless one is freed from the material entanglements and situated in the Brahman, there is no question of entering into the understanding of the devotional service or engaging in Krishna consciousness. One who is engaged in devotional service to Krishna is understood to be already realized in the Brahman concept of the life, because transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead includes knowledge of Brahman. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmanohi pradhisthana. The concept of personality of Godhead does not depend on Brahman. The Vishnu Purana also confirms that one who has taken shelter of the all auspicious Supreme Lord is already situated in the understanding of Brahman. In other words, one who is Vaishnava is already Brahmana. Another significant point of this verse is that one has to observe the prescribed rules and regulations as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, yuktahara viharasya. When one engages in devotional service of in Krishna consciousness, he still has to eat, sleep, defend, and mate, because these are necessities of body. But he performs such activities in a regulated way. He has to eat to Krishna Prasada. He has to sleep according to the regulative principles. He has the principle is to reduce duration of sleep and to reduce eating, taking only what is needed to keep the body fit. In short, goal is spiritual advancement, not sense gratification. Similarly, sex life must be reduced. Sex life is meant for only begetting Krishna conscious children. Otherwise, there is no necessity for sex life. Nothing is prohibited, but everything is made yukta, regulated with a higher purpose and always in mind. By following all these rules and regulations of life, one becomes purified and all misconceptions due to ignorance becomes nil. It is specifically mentioned here that the cause of material entanglement and completely vanquished. The Sanskrit statement anartha nivritti indicates that this body is unwanted. If we are spiritual spirit soul, and there was no and there was never any need of this material body, but because we wanted to enjoy the material body, we have this body though through the material energy under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as we are re-established in our original position of servitorship of the Supreme Lord, we begin to forget the necessity of life, and at last we forget the body. Sometimes in a dream we get a particular type of body with which to work in the dream. I may dream that I'm flying in the sky, or that I have gone into the forest or someone or some unknown place. But as soon as I wake, I forget all these bodies. Similarly, when one in Krishna consciousness fully devoted, he forgets all these changes of body. We are always changing bodies. Similarly, in birth and womb or of our mother, but when we are awakened in Krishna consciousness, we forget all these bodies. The bodily necessities become secondary. For the primary necessary is the engagement of the soul in real spiritual life. The activities of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. I'll come. The activities of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness are the cause of our being situated in transcendence. The words Bhagavati Atma Samshraye denote the personality of Godhead as supreme soul or the soul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, I am the seed of all entities. By taking shelter of the Supreme Being, by the process of devotional service, one becomes fully situated in the concept of personality of Godhead, as described by Kapila Dev. Madguna Shruddha Matrena, one who is in fully Krishna conscious, situated in personality of Godhead, is immediately saturated with the love of God. As soon as he hears about the transcendental qualities of the Lord, Devagudi was fully instructed by her son Kapila Deva on how to concentrate her mind on the Vishnu form in full detail. Following the instruction of her son in the matter of devotional service, she contemplated the form of Lord within herself with the great devotion of love. That is the perfection of Brahman realization, or the mystic yoga system, or devotional service. And the ultimate issue, when one is fully absorbed in thought of the Supreme Lord and meditate on him constantly, that is the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita confirms that one who is always absorbed in such a way is to be considered top most yogi. The real purpose of process of transcendental realization, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, or bhakti yoga, is to arrive at the point of devotional service. If one endeavors simply to achieve knowledge of the absolute truth or the super soul, but has no devotional service, he labors without gaining the real result. This is compared to the beating of husk or what wheat after the grain has been already been removed. Unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be the ultimate goal, it is useless simply to speculate or perform mystic yoga process. In the Ashtanga yoga system, the seventh stage of perfection is dhyana. The dhyana is the third stage of the devotional service. There are 9 stages of devotional service. The first is hearing, and then comes chanting and contemplating. By executing devotional service, thereby automatically one becomes expert jnani and expert yogi. In other words, jnana and yoga are different preliminary stages of devotional service. Devahuti was expert in accepting real substance. She contemplated the form of Vishnu in detail as advised by her smiling son Kapila Deva. At that same time, she was thinking of Kapiladeva, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore she completely perfected her austerities, penances, and transcendental realization. Hare Krishna. Oh, she's not there. Hare Krishna.
I think she will join probably, but her connection must have gone.
Yeah. She said it is difficult today. Prabhu, I'll come back and I read the purport completely.
Oh, yes. We'll wait. I think she will join it. Mataji is yet to come.
Yet to come. Okay. This purport is an amazing purport, which,
Amazing purpose.
yeah,
In fact,
which,
when you read it, I had one doubt, Prabhuji.
yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead. Shukar Prabhu
Yeah.
also there. We can answer.
Here, during this purport, it is stated clearly that those who are in the devotional path, they are also considered having realized the Supreme Brahman.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
It is told. Whereas in certain other verses, in other contexts, somehow the importance of Supreme Brahman is underplayed, and only the devotional service is there. Even though in, I think, Bhagavad Gita also, there are certain verses where the importance of achieving Supreme Brahman is there. So is there any contradiction somewhere, or only it is a matter of interpretation?
No. No interpretation, no contradiction. It's absolutely clear. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Lord Brahma, in the Shukadev Goswami explaining Parikshit Maharaj, because he knows that in those times only devotees, and he know in the age of Kali everything how it will go. Shukadev Goswami explains that Vadanti tat tattva vidis tattvam yajnanam adbhayam brahmedi parametmedi bhagavan idi shabdade. That means Vadanti means they say, like even in Tamil they say no Vadanti.
Hearsay.
Yeah, Vadanti means it's Sanskrit word actually. They say means who we don't know. But somebody is telling. That's a Vadanti. Vadanti means somebody say. What is that say? Vadanti. Thus, who is that Vadanti? Vadantis are transcendentalist. Transcendentalist means one who is studying so much and then they find and they say, Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. All they say after studying all the revealed scriptures, and they say all these realizations are one and the same, advayam. There is no second, all are there. But they, according to their understanding, it is it is divided in three. One is Brahmedi, Paramatmamedi, Bhagavan, Idi Shabdade. These three kind of understandings are prevailing. What are they? One is Brahman realization. That is the Kodi Surya Prakasham. My Lord, some people say, my God is an Arupi. He doesn't have to have a form. He is all pervading. He is omniscient. He is omnipotent. He is having all power. He is prevailing everywhere in every atom, and he is all pervading. He realizes everything. So that Lord need not to have a form. This is the Brahman realization. And Sukadeva Goswami think that is the beginning of understanding.
Prabhu, sorry. I don't know, my laptop having some problem, Prabhu. I don't know what is the problem. So I'm signing in through the phone now.
Yeah, and now you are so fresh, mother. in the mobile, it's very clear.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Prabhu, where did we reach now?
No, I read complete purport. It is a beautiful purport, and if you what it basically says, how this bhakti yoga is better in all other better than other yogic system, the mystic yogas, and how this bhakti yoga encompasses all other process of dhyana and jnana, all that. That's how purport. It's a very big purport and beautiful purport, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, if you please continue, I'm hearing.
No. Okay, Prabhu asked one question. Some is it contradictory? He was asking how this Brahman realization, sometimes this is supreme, it is mentioned. Is that contradictory? No, and I said it is not contradictory, and it is never a confusing factor. So I was quoting the verse, Vadanti tattvadas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmedi paramatmedi bhagavanidi shabdade. So Vadanti tat, the transcendentless, the supremely transcendentless, they say that this the supreme Brahman is Advayam. It is one. There is no non-difference, but according to one's understanding, it is mentioned in three levels of understanding. So Brahman, and I explained him, Brahman realization means what? My Supreme Lord is all-pervading, all omnipotent, omniscient, is prevailing in every each and atom. So I don't have to have a form to realize him. That is the Brahman realization, which is very basic. And the Paramatma understanding is one who is as the localized Brahman, as super soul, as Paramatma inside. So I don't have to see my Lord outside. He is already there guiding me from inside like that. But still, he cannot have a relationship with that Supreme, because he feels that my Supreme Lord inside as a Paramatma. So then it is a intermediate and a realization of the Supreme Lord. But Bhagavan understanding is the highest understanding. So he is all pervading. He is there within me as a super soul, as a Paramatma, as Shri Radha Gosai Vishnu. And he is all pervading in every atom. He is living there. And his original form is Shyamasundara Bhagavan. And he is having all appearances. So that is the final and complete conclusion. As always Prabhupada says that the beautiful analogy of train coming to a village. This we have discussed many times. So understanding light and sound as train is the lowest understanding. Seeing the form of the train is the middle understanding. And seeing the train and having one relationship with this train, how I can enter the train, how I can enjoy the train, how I can develop my relationship with me and the train is the highest understanding. So this is the three different levels of realization, Prabhuji.
Yeah, true.
Wonderfully clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. So
because
please,
in this purport, it was written, no, that a person who is in the path of devotion already has the realization of Brahman also.
Yeah.
That is why I asked that question.
So now you now understood, no, Prabhu. One who understood the train as a whole, he knows that it has a light, it has a sound, it has a form. So similarly, one who knows the Bhagavan, he knows the Brahman realization also, he knows the Paramatma realization also. Because we, the devotees, we think the Supreme Lord within there in this pencil also, is there inside, always guiding me. So Brahman realization over, Paramatma realization over. But I am seeing the Lord in the deity form, or in the whatever the representation of the Lord, the words of Acharya, Guru, Sastra, Sadhu, Sangha, everywhere I can see the Supreme Lord, because that is the complete understanding.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, please continue, Mataji. 5 minutes maybe.
Is it? Prabhu, the purport has been finished explaining, or what is the situation?
No. I read it. I did not know that you. 1 second, Mataji. Yeah.
Actually, Mataji, your connection got disconnected, no? So,
Yeah.
in the meantime, I just asked him a question. That's all.
Ah,
The purport is
okay.
not covered,
You
not
see,
discussed.
there is gap.
Is it? Okay, because we just
Can you
have
do
10
something?
minutes. Okay, I'll just quickly go through the purport.
Laser cutting. Is it
Fine.
looking ugly?
So here
Is it
Prabhupada
looking
actually
ugly?
says that, just like we, in a nutshell, we had already seen about how when we do devotional service, that is the best means, and rather we need not go for any other means of Brahman realization or even any other austerities of the mind, body, or whatever it may be. And here it is said that once we do devotional service, we become a Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava automatically becomes a Brahmana. You know, he need not do any other purificatory process. As and when he becomes a Vaishnava, he automatically becomes a Brahmana. And the main aspects of devotional service is that we should just slowly, by and by, it cannot happen all of a sudden, reduce our attachments to our sense gratification and reduce the bodily unwanted necessities for the body. That should be totally reduced. And of course, just as per that, what is happening is that reducing the sex life, which may agitate the mind, or which will agitate the mind, and we will not be able to concentrate or focus in our devotional service. It is not said that we should totally negate or stop any of this. We can, but by and by engage more in devotional service, and then the sense gratification is slowly reduced. And here it is being said that as soon as we are re-established in our original position of servitorship to the Supreme Lord, we begin to forget the necessities of the life, and at last we forget the body. That means the the trouble that the body gives us, or the demands that the body gives us, that can be totally negated once more and more we engage in devotional service of the of the Lord. The simple example which we can give is that a lady, till she becomes a mother, she's totally conscious about her body. Once she becomes a mother, she's totally conscious about the child's body. So her own necessities are totally reduced slowly, and she focuses more on her baby's body. So in the same way, once we become devotees, our necessities becomes totally, slowly it gets reduced. And our focus is totally upon serving the Lord, serving the devotees. What is their desires? How to serve the devotees, how to serve the Lord. And this is how it slowly comes up. And similarly, here it is said, when one is Krishna conscious, fully devoted, he forgets all the changes in the body. Once we become devotees, there are changes happening in our body. Hormones also changes. So many devotees who were before coming into Krishna consciousness, they might be looking quite dull and not very energetic. But once they come into Krishna consciousness, you can see the face itself is totally bloomed up. So this is how they totally transform themselves completely. And we are always changing bodies, right? From the womb to the tomb, our bodies are totally changing, that we know. And more we get into Krishna consciousness, the body becomes more effulgent, because the body is always engaged in the service of the Lord. And so now in this way, Devahuti's mindset and her body also totally changed, because she was totally engrossed in the instructions of her son, and her mind was totally focused on the Vishnu form of the Lord. And in full detail, she was meditating on each and every aspect of the Vishnu deity. And that is how she engaged herself in devotional service and totally contemplating on how best she can serve the Supreme Lord. And that is what is called as the topmost yoga system. That is how best you can serve by mind, body, and words, you can serve the Supreme Lord. Now here, one example which Prabhupada gives is that if one endeavors simply to achieve knowledge of the absolute truth or the super soul, but he doesn't have any devotional service of the absolute truth, then he is not gaining any result. Simply by focusing on jnana, that is simply by gaining knowledge, one cannot enter into, and one is not doing devotional service, he is not gaining anything. And the example given here is that compared to beating the husks of the wheat, the grain, after the grains are already, there, the grains are already removed. What is the point in simply beating the husk? You're not going to gain anything. So the same way, if you're not doing devotional service and simply gaining the jnana, you're not going to get anything. So we have to focus more than jnana. We have to focus on doing devotional service. As you do devotional service, jnana automatically comes. It is a package like. So here in the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, Devahuti was expert in accepting the real substance. This is a very good coinage which Prabhupada has used. Expert in accepting the real instructions. This is what we should focus on. We should also be quite expert. We can reject. Any fool can reject the instructions, but only an expert and an intelligent person can accept the instructions and follow it. This is what we should actually be doing also. And therefore, she completely perfected her austerities, penances, and transcendental realization. So because of all this, she was totally perfect in her spiritual zone, and she did her austerities, her penances, and it was really smooth free for her. She didn't have to, our Ekadashi is, oh my God, tomorrow's Ekadashi. But for her, it was, susukam. She was enjoying the transcendental service that she was doing for the Lord, or the austerities or penances, everything. So yeah, this is the nutshell in that. I guess in India, it's already 10 o'clock for devotees who are there. If devotees have any points to or suggestions, can please speak up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Devotees, any questions, comments quickly?
Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Actually, as Mataji said, I want to, Mataji said once we are in the Bhakti Yoga, the knowledge, we need not to do separate endeavor to get. It is automatically, the knowledge will come. Every single devotee is the testimony for that. Before that, gaining a knowledge will be a big thing, but after coming to Krishna consciousness, automatically it comes. This is told in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janadi Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Ahaitugam. Not only Jnanam, Vairagyam also will come. Yes, Namadaji. Because Vairagyam is very important, because unwanted things we will start leaving. Vairagyam will come, detachment from the unwanted things. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much, because
Thank you.
I know that deity dressing is going there, so some services you will have there. Maybe you have
Fine.
to make.
Hare Krishna, Dandavata Pranam. Hare Bol,
Dandavata
Hare
Oh,
Pranam.
Sarojbhai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavata Pranam, Prabhu.
आप कैसे हैं
Hare
माता जी?
Krishna.
तो तुम्हारी बहन कैसे रह सकता है? जिसका
हरे
इतना सुंदर भाई हो, उस बहन का क्या कहना? ठाकुर की कृपा है। और आज
हरे कृष्ण।
भागवतम था ना अपने घर में, तो बहुत अच्छा रहा।
आप
ठाकुर की बहुत कृपा।
आप आए अभी डाइनिंग टेबल में, मेरे को मालूम है आप जिधर आपको इतना बार खिलाया। हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
Hare
खिलाने
Krishna.
वाला कोई और है
Bhagavatam
प्रभु जी।
Grantaraj की
आप
जय.
सबका दर्शन पाके मैं धन्य हो जाती हूँ।
हरे
हरि
कृष्ण।
बोल, हरे
हरे
कृष्ण,
कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।
थैंक यू माता जी। हरे
दंडवत
कृष्ण।
प्रणाम सभी भक्तों को, मेरा दंडवत प्रणाम। हरि बोल।
प्रणाम माता जी। हरे
Hare
कृष्ण। हरे
Krishna.
कृष्ण।
Prabhu, I'll take my leave then.
Yes, yes,
Hare
Mother.
Krishna.
Yes, Mother. Thank you, Mother.
Bhagavatam Grantaraj की जय. Srila Gurudev की जय. Srila Prabhupada.
हर ग्रे श्याम पॉलिका माता जी की जय.
Yes.
Okay, Prabhu, we'll see. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow. Hare Krishna.